Hey, what's going on, guys? It's everyone's favorite anime and manga podcast, lOsTAKUS. My name is Eric.
And I'm JT.
And we have another SWR for you. Today, we're going to go with My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, and freaking One Piece.
Just 3, because Dr. Stone was over.
Gonzo. Sad. If you want to see that last chapter review, go ahead and check out the last video. But we're gonna get into it with My Hero. Yeah, it was
a slumber of a chapter, I would say, to say the least.
Let's just say from last week's video, I was right, and I was right about my theory for One Piece.
Not was right on that. It's just what you didn't want to happen. But what you didn't want to did. So
I was right.
Deku. It starts off with Deku running away. Obviously, he's in the middle of the ocean. He was using the 7th, so All Might's teacher's quirk, and the 3rd. Yep.
And Fajin.
Yeah. And he was just trying to dash as much as he could.
And I'm like, at this point, when I'm reading the chapter, I'm like, please don't escape. Someone bring him back. Someone bring him back. I'm like, this is going to be a useless waste of Deku. Like, that was terrible.
As I was editing the last video, what came to mind is like, I kind of understand why this happened. Why the author, the mangaka, decided to go this route.
Of course.
Because you don't want to give the final battle that quickly. Deku versus Shigaraki. He didn't want to just go right at it from the beginning.
Yep.
So this was just, I don't want to call it a smart way of doing it, but just a way of doing it.
It was a way.
It was a way.
Was it my preferred way? Absolutely not.
So they're just keeping Deku out of the picture. You don't want to see Deku's new powers like right off the bat.
He's gonna go back
just
and
burn it, just burn up some side characters, literally, or decay them away.
He's gonna go back and he's like, my friends are dead.
And then that's when you see all his power-ups.
Yeah.
But even then, right now, when he's trying to dash in the middle of the ocean, he was about to use a move, and then the 3rd speaks to him.
No.
It's like, what are you doing, kid? Don't let this situation like throw you off.
Don't let your emotions get a hold of you, get the best of you, basically, because you're gonna arrive there having used all your power just to get there.
It's like, what were you about to do? Nothing. Like, were you just about to use my meta ability? Yes.
Which we don't know. That was one of the interesting things.
Yeah, that he brought this up. The 3rd brought this up. He's like, hey, we said that was the last resort.
The 3rd's quirk is essentially evolved now into something different,
and that's what he mentions. He mentions not only that, but All For One's ability, one of their abilities that they found out, not only are they retaining their abilities and making themselves stronger, the user stronger, but their abilities themselves evolved within All For One.
Yeah.
So each one of them has evolved one, and he said the 3rd's particular ability is special.
Yeah.
So that's his secret technique there.
Yeah. And it's essentially, this is following the same flow from Shigaraki's as he's evolving as well. So this is all following the quirk singularity theory, and the quirks are evolving as they go through stages and over time. So essentially this is what's happening with that. So, but they have a monologue between the 3rd and Deku as he's trying to run away and trying to get to the place where he needs to be on time.
And that's where that ends with
basically,
right?
Yeah.
Keep it chill and keep going as slow as it is. Just believe in your friends.
Yeah.
Believe in all those fodders that are about to get killed.
Because there's no plot armor there.
And Suyu's like, well, I wasn't about to let my friend's confession, like not her darkest secret, but one of her biggest secrets being revealed just like that.
Yeah.
So Suyu, best girl Suyu,
she's like, I'm your wing girl.
And then Himiko Toga's like, well, kids, I'm done with all this. I love y'all. Y'all keep rejecting me.
I'm done playing.
Yep.
So she puts on her mask.
But she already had it on, but now she just takes out all her weapons. Hey, I'm Himiko Toga, and I have no need for heroes. Ooh. Now I'm gonna make... Oh, she looks scary, bro. She looks scary. And she's like, I'm gonna make this world disappear. I'm gonna live the way I want in this world. Yeah, is essentially what she says. And then Uraraka was...
Yeah, that was
I'm sorry, I just hate it when... Yeah, it's kind of cringy when... Well, it's not that she's cringy herself. It's just that she just copied what Himiko said.
Yeah.
I'm going to live the way I want in this world. And she looks menacing.
Yeah.
And then you just get Uraraka saying, well, also
Gonna do
living
the same.
how I want. And my name is Ochiko Uraraka.
And this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero.
Not a cool moment for Uraraka.
Yeah.
Mangaka could have wrote it a little
Something
bit better.
right? Maybe a better line.
Yeah, especially because her ability is cool, right? But her personality isn't.
Yeah.
She's friendly as heck, but
Horikoshi,
not a badass.
You want great promos? Go watch AEW, bro. They get you some great promos for writing, bro.
After that, we move on to
where was it? Kamina City, I believe. I don't remember the name of the
I
city.
think it said Ground Zero, actually.
Well, then Kamina Ward,
Yeah.
Kamina Ward, where All Might and All For One had.
Yeah,
their
because
battle.
All Might statue was on fire.
And why is it on fire?
Because Dabi, it's like hell on earth, bro.
My boy Dabi is just going ham on the heroes, and the heroes that we currently have there are Shoto and Ida and Burnin and 2 other sidekicks from.
I don't remember
their
They're
names.
all Endeavor sidekicks.
They're all Endeavor sidekicks except Ida. I guess I wonder how he's gonna be used there. The speed for Dabi.
He's all like, well, I can't even get close to it. I can't let my
Exactly.
engines overheat. I'm like, then
What are you
why
doing
here? Why would you be strategized to be here?
Who knows? But we'll see how Horikoshi decides to play Ida in there. But yeah, he said that
He's the only one that isn't close. Everybody else is like right in front of Dabi.
Yeah.
He's the only one that isn't.
He's like, nah, my engines will burn up, bro. What are you doing here, bro?
Seriously, like this is planned beforehand.
Yeah, and Dabi is essentially making fun of everybody. He's like, y'all really gonna let Endeavor like just toy with y'all and do his little side work for him?
Like, is this how much he thinks of me? His third son sending fodder against me.
Basically,
His first son.
he just sends his fodder characters against me. Nah, bro, you need a main character.
So one of Endeavor sidekicks, I don't know. Is this the first time we see them aside from Burning?
Aside from Burning,
other
we
2?
hadn't seen the other 2.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I don't know what the other one was doing, but there was one who said that he's able to alter the trajectory of all things, like almost anything.
yeah,
So the flames were just swirling around him. Like,
Yeah.
they weren't even close to him. But the other guy was all like, watch out, guy. I know how weak you are. So
He's
he's
like-
like, hey, my guy, I'm used to this, especially with fire. We're Endeavor Psychics, guys. I do this all the time.
he's like, I've been doing this for 10 years. He literally said he's been doing it for 10 years. But yeah, he's essentially just circulating the air around him.
Yeah, and
the
then
fire
you
around
have
him.
Burning, kind of pumping up Shoto, or no, kind of encouraging Shoto.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're your old man's sidekicks. He
And we're
sent
your
us here,
backup.
and we're your backup, and we're here to support you any way you need.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to come at this battle because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And then Shoto's like, thanks.
And then Shoto's basically explaining to Dabi, like, no, I'm not doing this because our old man told us to. I'm doing it because I want to do it. Like, I'm here to fight you.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what Shoto tells
He's
Dabi.
like, I'm here to fight you, bro.
Because Dabi is obviously making fun of the situation, just like All For One is making fun of Endeavor. Shoto did a better job handling that situation than Endeavor did against.
Yeah, Endeavor's like,
one for all.
What do I say? And you can't say nothing, bro. You got cat. He boycott the best promo. He's like, I can't respond, bro.
That he's there for him on his own personal merits. As the third son,
Yeah.
I'm here to take down my big brother. And then Dabi is like, well, guys, you know that you're here to stop us, the villains. But you're not the only ones with your own resolutions. Even we have our own resolutions. Like, some of us want to change the world, which he was referring to Toga. And then some of us want to destroy it. Like Shigaraki and Spinner.
Yeah.
It's mainly Shigaraki.
Spinner looked different. Like, he got a
He
new
looked a little
form.
bit- he looked a little
he
buff.
looked cool. So I was like, I want to see that. But it's cool what Dabi said, that he's like, to the death.
Some of us are tired of living in this world that was just formed and
Yeah.
we're just supposed to accept.
Yeah.
He's like, nah.
And Shoto basically asked him, well, like, why, like, if you were alive this whole time, why didn't you come back? So he's basically saying, like, tell me why. And Dabi's like, okay, like, we're just gonna cut in. I'm presumably while they're fighting, he's gonna talk to him and tell him how I became the fire, I don't know.
The masterpiece of that piece of crap father.
And this is the story of how I became the masterpiece to the piece of crap father.
That's where the chapter ends.
But overall, yeah. All right, moving on.
Yeah, let's just move on
Yeah, we're
from that.
moving on to some better stuff. Jujutsu Kaisen, my guy. We were left off at like the biggest cliffhanger, like
Biggest hype.
like God, bro. How you? Oh my God. So the chapter.
Udo, Ryu, and Okutsu all going to their domain expansion.
Yoiki Tenkai. And then the chapter starts off with them saying it, and it's just panel of all three of them, and then cuts into.
So basically, the chapter begins where we left off. Everybody using their domain expansion, using their cool poses or in their cool poses, and the barriers are forming. They're just forming. And on the outside, Rika's looking on. Now, what happened to Rika? We get an explanation.
Yeah.
She just got hit.
Yeah,
she was thrown.
Yeah, Ryu hit her and
knocked her 20 meters away, however long that is. So Rika is far off, and all you could see I like how he drew the domains, how
forming.
they look. Yeah, how they're forming between all three of them, and Rika's just right there. And then she gets mad because another explanation. This is a cursed Rika, not the original Rika, his childhood friend.
Yeah.
But the feelings of the original Rika were left within this cursed Rika technique.
Yep.
She really loves Yuta, so she gets really angry being separated from Yuta.
And you see an eye opening up.
And which is her basically at her max strength.
Yeah.
Like in the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. And she says, "Give Yuta back." And her eye opens and she gets really buff, really scary. But just before she could do anything, you just see iron. I love iron. And this piece of crap, the second enemy that Yuta defeated about 4 or 5 chapters ago.
The cockroach guy.
The insect guy.
Yeah.
Kururoshi?
Yeah,
something
Kururoshi.
Like that. Mm-hmm. And he comes in, he's back alive. How did he survive? Why is he back? Yeah. Another explanation.
And Gege gives the explanation there, and is essentially the player who was
Kururoshi.
Kururoshi is gone, but the curse spirit still remains, and it still remains because what was that?
It was Kururoshi.
You got it. Kuroroshi's spirit just attacked JT, bro. Perfect timing.
That was funny. So just like that, he died like that.
He died like that. Gege had explained Kuroroshi was essentially the player is dead, but the curse spirit still remains because right before he died, he had transferred some of his energy to eggs, essentially.
To his children. Had children, obviously. And it's an insect.
And because the fear of the curse still remains, because curses
come from humans, and some of humans are creeped out by bugs, so that remains.
And it remains, and then it basically
transferred.
It transferred to the
children.
The children. And then came back.
Reemerged.
It reemerged.
Yep. So the original's dead, but it almost has an infinite life. So long as humans are afraid of insects, it would probably continue to live.
And all three of them, they're like, what?
Yeah, they notice it. And we get another explanation of how domains usually work.
And how math works.
Yep. So in domains, like we mentioned in the last video, they mentioned it here, when it's 2 domain barriers colliding, the one with the most curse energy is the one that's going to win, but it's a one-on-one fight. Usually domains happen in a one-on-one fight, but in terms of three-way, is a three-way match, then it gets a little bit more complicated. But because of all the external conflict that's happening and the internal turmoil of their techniques colliding, what happens next?
It breaks apart.
Yep, it just collapses. So because it's a 3-way battle, and usually domains are one-on-one, so it's a 3-way fight between curse energies, and it's a barrier. Remember, your domain is a barrier, and you're supposed to form that barrier. So they were just forming their domains, and then in less than a second, Kururoshi appears. Rika's coming at them, and they're trying to focus, but now they're losing focus, so everything just collapses. Everything just collapsed.
And it was great because as essentially everything was collapsing, you get all 3 of them, and I love that Ryu's so confident that he's smoking a cigar as soon as all this I don't know when he did it, that all happened in split seconds, and
he was still using his domain pose or something.
Yeah, he was, and he's just like he's just taking a cigarette.
He's all like, well, my guys, this is pretty interesting. The first thing we get after everything has collapsed and they're coming back down because they were like floating up in the sky, Udo is the first to notice Kururoshi, and apparently it was mentioned that Udo is a bad matchup against Kururoshi. So she was instantly like, ah, crap. And in that instance, our boy Yuta noticed her being distracted and caught off guard. So next thing you know, bam, roundhouse kick.
So she's so distracted because Kuroroshi's there. He just, bam. It was great. He had no remorse. He was just like, yeah, I'm taking you out. Sorry.
Hey, man, honor? What's that?
I don't know what that is.
When our boy Yuta Okatsu says he's going to kill you,
he's gonna kill you, bro.
Any way possible.
No ifs, ands, buts, or about it, bro. He's gonna do it.
No honor.
That's how he do. That's
Yep.
how he do.
By any means. And then Kuroroshi attacks her. She tries to use her technique, her curse technique,
But she cannot.
but after you use your domain, but essentially your curse techniques are going to be useless for a while.
Because you've expended so much energy, they won't work. They're just like,
Yep.
She tried
So
grabbing
she
me,
tried
and
it.
she's like, I can't.
And now she's naked because she was using her curse technique to make her like invisible clothing
Yeah.
around her, but now she's completely naked. And then she gets bitten by Kuroroshi. And what happened the last time Yuta got bitten happens to Udo. Bugs come out of her arm and it splits her arm off. But then the funny thing happens. Rika shows up.
Bites her arm. She's like, tears at it.
And Udo's all like, hey, give my arm back.
And
How
it's,
dare you take my arm, Fujiwara?
and it's great because Ryu notices it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he notices it and he knows that Udo can use reverse curse technique, but recovering a limb, yeah, that
It's
takes
probably hard.
That takes
Yeah,
that takes
like,
a
well,
lot.
he didn't say that Udo can. He said even if Udo can, even if she could use curse techniques for a reverse curse technique user, reviving a limb is pretty hard.
Yeah,
So she lost an arm.
she did. It was funny. Sidetrack from this. There's an editor's note in the comment section for Shonen Jump. Gege had put, "I regret giving Udo the design that I gave her now because now she's naked." I don't know how that translates into the anime, but we'll see. So
It was a cool concept. I even made that joke. It's
Yeah.
just a reverse version of Invisible Girl in My Hero.
Yeah.
Where she's completely invisible. And here, her clothes were invisible. But now that her curse technique is depleted, or for a moment, momentarily depleted, it's birthday suit. Udo just can't catch a break, my guy. She really can't. All we hear is, that's enough of you, Udo. Granite blast! Bam! And the surprised look on her face, she was shocked at that moment. She's like, what? Bah! Gets blasted with the granite blast. And Kuroroshi was on the side. He gets hit
blasted
too. And then we get another editor's note, a lot of notes on Ryu Ishigori's curse technique is curse energy release. So that's why he can release it like Kamehamehas or Hadoukens, like you were saying last video. So that's why he can release energy blasts, because that's basically his innate technique.
Yeah. And Udo is just
And the Robo, she's basically done.
She is done.
And then you get Kuroroshi on the side, like half of him was burned away, which is credit to Udo, how tough she is.
Yeah.
She got blasted directly and she's still alive. Well, we don't know if she's alive, but physically she's still there.
Yeah.
But Kuroroshi got hit by passing, like in passing. It wasn't directed at him, it was directed at Udo.
Yeah, but in
and
passing,
half of him
is gone.
It's gone. And he gets his cursed blade out, but before he could even do anything, you just see a hand grab his face. Boom! It's gone.
That was so cool because Yuta just like nonchalant, the coolest guy ever, just walks up, doesn't even look at him, just whoo, gone like that, like nothing.
So for you, the way you're making it sound is that you think he ripped it off. For me, I thought he put cursed energy into himself and just blasted it.
So he reinforced himself with cursed energy and just but
blasted
cold,
it off.
bro.
Yep,
the look
that is
away,
cold.
just like
He didn't even look at him.
gone. And then Ryu goes, "I have now set the table. Let us eat, my guy." So that's what he wanted. This is essentially, that was his main goal. It was just him
One-on-one, bro.
and Yuta.
To give me a good meal.
And then it goes into the end, and Yuta's
Another editor's note,
Mm-hmm.
Yuta, because they just used domain expansion, he still can't use his curse techniques.
Yeah.
So he's gonna fight him just pure curse energy, whatever he has left.
and then he's like, "Let's go, Rika." And then Ryu, funniest thing that I noticed, he hits the Kenny Omega pose. He says,
Bring it, son. Well, before we move on, I think for those that are confused, we're talking Okatsu and Udo couldn't use their curse techniques because of the domain expansion. So because after domain, you can't really use curse techniques, but Ishigori did. But that's because of his curse technique, his energy release.
Yep, he explained it.
So that's
curse
as simple
technique.
as that.
And yeah, we're getting the showdown between the two standing next chapter.
This has been a pretty good fight, and if there's other stronger characters than these guys, dang,
that's wild. Like they're like, it's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers, bro. It's bonkers. So that was Jujutsu Kaisen.
Speaking of bonkers,
speaking of freaking bonkers, my guy. Speaking of freaking bonkers, we're moving into One Piece, my guy. One Piece. Oh, I just get the chills thinking about it, bro. Ooh. Chapter 1044, my guy.
It starts off with someone saying, "What's happening?" I thought I lost. So we know who it is.
So we already know who it freaking is.
But he's like, "Hey man, I'm feeling good."
And we're at this point, they've shown nothing, just comments and just the speaking bubbles. I'm like, what happened, bro? What is going on right now?
You already know who it is. It's Luffy. He's up. He don't know what's happening.
And talk about tension, bro. The fact that he starts it off like that. Oh, bro, come on, my guy. Oh, why
you get a shot of Zunisha like,
like what? What is going on, bro?
Did Luffy say my heartbeat sounds weird?
Yes.
Yeah, right. He did. If I was
and nobody's brought
correctly.
it up, but I'm going to the fact that I don't think that's is not supposed to happen per se. Maybe I'm just gonna go in. It's a time limit, most likely, and that's why I'm like, I don't think hearts are supposed to do that, bro. It might be just like Gear Second. Who knows? I'm speculating, right? But there has to be a drawback to what's happening. So
of course, we'll get into that later.
Into that, though.
So after that, you get a shot of Momonosuke and Yamato, and Yamato's all like, "Zunisha said that,
yeah,
that Luffy is Joy Boy," and that was it for them. But still, that was big. That was just immediately right there. Zunisha confirmed it.
So confirmed. Luffy's Joy Boy.
Now
that's confirmed. Now it's confirmed.
And then we cut back to where Kaido and the others are, and everybody just conquers Haki is coming from the roof. Yeah. Everybody just notices. It's just conquers Haki. You're gonna feel it.
Yeah, and it cuts to Sanji. He's
he woke
somewhere
up, so
else. Now he's awake where the battle between him and Queen was. He had knocked out, but now he's awake. The girls have saved him and bandaged him up.
It was like Pleasure Hall, Tower, or something.
And
like
he's
that.
like,
Luffy? He has it makes sense here because he's very good at observation Haki.
He's really good at it. That's
one
his
of his
specialty.
Best. So that's why he was able to sense the Conqueror's Haki. No matter how far he is, he was able to sense that something was different with Luffy.
Yeah.
And this is how everybody is sensing him. Law, Kid, Marco, everybody that's up. I was about to say Zoro, but he's down. He's probably like, "Death, you can't come for me yet."
I'm not going down yet, man.
But everybody's just noticing. They all start looking up because, again, now you can see Conqueror's Haki is like black lightning.
Yeah.
So everybody's looking up, like they're sensing this kind of like Bleach spiritual pressure, just this pressure of Conqueror's Haki coming out of nowhere. And all the fodder characters that had the second win,
they're knocked
out. The useless ones, they're like, ugh.
They're knocked out. And Kaido's like, what the hell is going on up there?
Like, what the heck is that?
So everybody's sensing that he's now awake.
Well, not everybody.
And not everybody. Then Marco, he's like, "Oh my God, hey, Luffy's good." And then he tells Nami and Otama, he's like, "Hey, he's good. He's still alive." And they're like crying. Otama's like, "Big brother." And then Nami's like, "Luffy." And then we get a cut from there, and we go
to the most important part of this chapter. The people that obviously know what's going on here.
And
five elders,
and
the
we
Gorosei.
Go to Pangaea, where the Gorosei are at, and the Gorosei are like,
just give us the explanation that we need.
Essentially, the Gorosei start off by saying, "We sacrificed one of the best CP0 guys we had." Bro, that was your best?
One of the best,
but they literally say one of our best CP0
agents.
like,
yep. One of our best agents.
And he's like, "Are you sure?" And one of them's like, "Are you sure?
Was it worth it, bro?
Was it the right decision?" We angered Kaido, and they're like, "Yeah, it was the right decision."
And that's also important because you're angering Kaido, and you're not only angering a Yonko, but you're angering the Yonko that has made this smile fruit that has an army of a bunch of smile users and devil fruit users.
Yeah.
So this is a strong guy with a strong army.
Yeah.
And you just pissed them off, and they're like, we would rather fight that than fight what's coming with the Gomu Gomu no Mi.
And at this point, they don't know anything about Luffy's condition. They just know that he's out.
They're
assuming that their plan worked. But then they go into detail, and this is
the most important part.
They're like, big news.
For 800 years, we've tried and tried to get the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but for some reason it keeps invading us. And then when the other one, well, that was one person that said that, and the other one says like, well, it's not like they have a conscience of their own. So why do you put it like that?
He actually says that.
No, one of them mentions that, but then there's another one that says Zoan fruits. Remember, guy, Zoan fruits actually have a conscience of their own. Yes. I know that's what you were getting to, but someone said that it's not like they do, but one of them does say
Zoan types do.
So why was that important? And again, we didn't know that before this. So that liner, I was like, what? Which kind of makes sense because Zoans are essentially creatures of mythical legends or some whatever. So if they have a conscience of their own, I guess that works. They say like Rob Lucci, right?
Yeah.
His Zoan, not mythical Zoan, he is a leopard. So he's kind of ferocious, like a leopard. So in a sense, like that way, I can get it, but that they have a conscience of their own is weird, but it's more explained when they said, like the Gomu Gomu no Mi. That's not its original name.
And at this point, before you reveal it, I was just like, at this point, I'm just like, for the last, when I start One Piece, like 10 years ago, for the last 10 years, this has been a lie, bro? Oda, he played the long con on us, bro.
For the last 2 chapters, I was like, maybe he was BSing us with this. I accepted it. Like, this wasn't a surprise to me. I was like, yeah, okay, you just confirmed all my suspicions.
Yeah.
You confirmed everything I was thinking of for the last 2 weeks, that maybe the Gomu Gomu no Mi isn't the Gomu Gomu no Mi, isn't what we think it is. Maybe it is the name.
And that's exactly what I brought up in the last video too, because I tied in the Gomu Gomu no Mi being stolen from the ship and why was it such a big deal, and then them saying that earlier they're like, there's a fruit that which is name, it's not its name, and I was like,
that the suspicions, we all had that suspicions, but my suspicion was that maybe it's not a paramecia, because it freaking ain't.
And they reveal that it is
actually
a zone,
mythical zone,
mythical
zone. So I'm like, okay, and then they said human fruit, and I'm like, okay.
Model Nika. I was like, what? Bro. And then as soon as they say it right there, he puts it right there.
A silhouette.
In a background with the moon shining, and it's Luffy
jumping
in the pose of Joy Boy.
They say the power of a god is stored within that fruit. The mythical zone, human fruit. Model Nika, the sun god.
The sun god. And is they essentially explain how the fruit works. The first part of it is that it's the users able to use rubber in combat, meaning that they're just explaining what the Gomu Gomu no Mi is. That part right there, at least the way that I read it. So in that part where he's explaining that rubber is used in combat, or their body turns into rubber is used in combat, that is just explaining the Gomu Gomu no Mi. But because we didn't know its real name, now he's going off the real name, and essentially that's what it is, right? And then he says that it can be used to the user's imagination, meaning it's up to the user and how they decide to turn or use rubber on their own body, and which we've seen this whole series. Luffy's come up with some crazy techniques that he's only been able to use because it's rubber. So I feel like a lot of people are getting that confused. And the first part of it, they're thinking he's explaining the new form. No. He's explaining just how the Hito fruit works, which, as we knew, it was the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but he's just explaining what the actual name and the power is. So
that was a long-winded explanation, so I'm gonna try to simplify it just a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit. So basically, the Gomu Gomu no Mi that the reason that Luffy thought it was a paramecia because it's made his body rubber. Yeah, his buddy. But his body rubber. The whole explanation about this mythical zone, human fruit, model Nika, makes the user's body rubber. That's his innate technique. That's his basic power.
We're going JJK here.
And then once you awaken that, we already know what awakened fruits can do. We already seen Dofi use crazy powers. We've seen Katakuri. I always forget Katakuri's name, but Katakuri is probably the most. Katakuri, I think, is the biggest one because his power. Yeah, because his power was closest to Luffy's.
Yes.
Similar. Now you add those two, the potential that they used with Luffy, then you get a basic explanation of how this power is going to work. And when it means that it's only limited to by his imagination, it's not saying that he can do anything that's possible that you think of. It's whatever Luffy can think of. So my biggest comparison is who's the most common character that you can compare with Luffy in all of stories, creations, or whatever. Me, I instantly go to Mr. Fantastic. When I heard about Luffy, I was a comic book fan before I was a manga or anime fan. So when I saw Luffy's powers, I honestly thought it was kind of lame, but I liked it because I compared it to Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. And I've read those comics for years, and he did some pretty unique things. And then Luffy used it in unconventional ways that I've never seen Mr. Fantastic use. So essentially, Luffy can do whatever he can with his own body, and now with his awakened form, with things outside of his body, because his awakened form, your devil fruit power, affects everything around you.
At this point, the durability part of it that Gorosei explained, a lot of people are calling BS on this, and I've been on Twitter, right? They're saying, oh, it's a ass pull, and like, nah, it's not. It's not, because it's been explained before. At Impel Down, Luffy and the crew, Buggy and Crocodile and the rest of them, they fought awakened zones at Impel Down. They took them down, and as they were running, they were coming back, and they woke up, and Luffy's like, didn't we just take care of them? And Crocodile explains, no, they're awakened zones. Their durability, they recover a lot faster, and this is why Luffy recovered really fast. Oda's explained it already. You can't call BS on it. It's been explained. You probably just forgot, but it's been explained. You can't call BS on it. That's just my little side rant on there. So, and then right before we move on to the next scene, the Gorosei explains, this is the most ridiculous power in the world. Now, a lot of people are taking this as this is the strongest ability in the world.
I knew you would say that. Nope. I'm not on the internet.
Yep.
But I knew he would say that.
They are taking it like that, and they are completely reading it wrong. That is not what that means. Ridiculous as in crazy, like as in,
if they were gonna say that this is the strongest,
they would literally
say powerful, that's what they would use. But they didn't say that. They said the most ridiculous. So it's funny that you say that, because ridiculous comes to the end of this chapter. That made sense to me at the end, but you know, I just took it as face value as it was written. I'm like, okay, but not the strongest. That I immediately pointed out, because they said Kaido has said in terms of strength, Kaido is the strongest.
And we've already seen a lot of really strong devil fruits, but yes, specifically for the people that are like, oh no, it's the strongest. No, that is not the case. It is the most ridiculous, as in the craziest, silliest, whatever you can think of as ridiculous. And Oda has explained this in an SBS when they asked him, why is it that you make Luffy so weak? They asked him, why do you make Luffy so weak? I'm like, well, if I had him be super strong, that wouldn't be a fun story. And if I gave him a really strong ability, that wouldn't be fun. So I gave him a really ridiculous ability from an SBS a long time ago.
And I'll bring up another quote that's similar to that he said.
We'll move on to the next part, which cuts into Hiyori and Orochi.
And honestly, I love the story of Hiyori. I really do. One of my favorite characters so far in Wano, because she's been through a lot. She really has been. And she gave Zoro his new blade, the Enma, and she faked her own death. I was very curious of what her story was leading up to, especially after she helped Zoro, and we're like, what happened to her after that? Now we know for the last few chapters, she's been playing
the shamisen.
Yeah, for Orochi. And he's in rubble, buried, asking for her help. And instead of helping her, she's just going on a bit of a tale on all the people, her Odin, and all the samurai, all the things that they're doing now, everything that's come to this point. And then Orochi in his mind is thinking, well, she's a fan of Odin. So what does this coward do? Just like, yeah, I always respected Odin. It's like, I always thought he was a good guy. He goes on a rant, anything that he can to survive, you know?
And then Hiyori is like,
gets mad, bro.
She gets extremely mad. She takes off her mask and she is like absolutely just in tears and enraged. She's like, you shut your whore mouth. She's like, I am Kyozuki Hiyori, and like I am the daughter of Odin. The fact that Momo has done it and Hiyori's now done it, the fact that they take pride in their names,
Kozuki name
and their Kozuki names, they take pride in that, and that's like I thought that was so beautiful. Like, and it's the way that Oda drew her too. I was like, it's a super powerful moment.
Yeah, so far Hiyori has been kind of drawn like very feminine, a beautiful character, and in this one moment she has veins popping and everything. She's really angry and she's in tears. She's just mad that this coward is begging for his life, and then he did what she brings up, like, my father boiled for over an hour because he thought you were gonna keep your word, and you're just a liar. You're a piece of crap, and now you're praising my father. You're like,
get out of here, bro. You shut your whore mouth.
And then a few chapters ago, or like 2 videos ago, SWR videos ago, I mentioned that the spirit of that clown face, whatever that clown was, it was done.
Face,
but,
the Joker.
Yep. So I thought he was done, but nope. We just see a little,
he comes back.
A little flame spirit of his comes back, and Orochi, the piece of monkey crap that he is, he's like, there you go, Hiyori. Look at this. Now the tables have turned. Now you know that fortune mighty favors the strong.
Yeah.
And he's like, go, Kanjiro, burn that wench, burn that last living Kozuki clan member alive. And he's all laughing. It's like, put an end to this tragic comedy of a tale of hers. And it still floats. And he's all like, hey, you're going the wrong way.
And he is literally being burned alive in what I would call poetic justice.
Heck yeah.
Exactly how Odin went out, unfortunately, boiling. Now Orochi is on fire and burning to death in the most poetic justice and greatest punishment that I could think of. Because this whole freaking time, he's been getting his head cut off and coming back to life, getting stabbed and coming back to life because of his devil fruit. And this time, but the reason he's not regenerating is because Hiyori stabbed him with the sea prism nails. So he has nails in him, and that's why he was regenerating.
Doesn't have his devil fruit and powers.
Poetic justice at its finest. I love this. It was great. Kanjuro just burns him, and Hiyori's like, we keep our promises. Like,
we of the Kozuki clan, we the samurai, we the people of Wano.
Yeah, what we say, it comes to pass, and the man got his.
So it's kind of cool.
He's got his just desserts.
So she's just here with him. He's on fire, begging for her to help him and whatever. She's just ignoring him. She's just now peaceful. She's now calm after her line, and she's just looking up because you see this fire, and she's probably in the dark room or not, because this place is burning.
Yeah.
So all she has to light is of his flame, and she looks up and says, a new dawn will rise.
And it does rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
And as Hiyori is looking up at the sky, we get a glimpse of the new dawn. The new dawn being a silhouette of awakened Luffy. And he looks, I don't know, from the silhouette, I'm just like, what does he look like, bro? And Luffy's going like, yee, let's go. And he's like, I feel like I can go a bit longer. He's like, my heartbeat sounds funny. And then he's like, I have reached the pinnacle. This is the pinnacle. Gear 5. I was like, what do you mean, bro? So the way that I'm interpreting the pinnacle, as in he's reached his peak, like this is his final form. Like, I feel like this is like no more, there's no gear 6. Gear 5 is as far as he goes. Oda cuts it there. Unlike the Fast and the Furious, they don't know how to cut it. But Gear 5th that's his final form. That's what I interpreted as his pinnacle.
Well, it's like Gear 4th, you know. Gear 4th was his strongest form so far, but he had different versions of it.
Yeah.
So he calls this his Gear 5. But from what we're seeing, this is Luffy. Luffy is feeling this. He's like, I've never felt like this before. I feel like I've never. This is it. This is what I've been seeking for entire time.
He's like, my heart beats. I'm funny. I feel different inside. Is this love?
And there's no one around, but he's like, myself. I love myself now. I have accepted everything about me, and this is my pinnacle.
Self-love.
Aside from him, this is all Luffy thinking. But from what we know, like, I think the audience should just know he's calling this his Gear 5th, but essentially this is just his fruit awakening.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that.
That's how I take it. I just found that funny that he calls it his Gear 5th. This is my cool new Gear 5th. And I'm here like, nah, bro, it's just awakening. Everybody calls it awakening, but you're calling it Gear 5th.
Because he doesn't know how to explain it. He's like, I think I awakened my Gear 5th. Like, this is a new technique that I've learned.
Yep.
Because at this point, he knows nothing. He doesn't know he's a zone.
I can't wait for him to fight someone who's like, Gear 5th or Gear 5. Boom. And then whoever he's fighting is like, did he just awaken his fruit?
No. This is just my new technique.
This is Gear 5. Nah, I think you just awakened your fruit, my guy. Look at everything around you. It's weird.
He's like, no, it's my new ability. This is what I can do.
So if you're confused about that, this is Gear 5. New technique. No, it's just his awakening
but
fruit.
In his mind, he's like, okay, I call it this my Gear 5.
It's okay, Luffy. Yes, it is Gear 5.
Once he finishes his little dialogue with himself, it cuts back to the dome floor, the top floor, and everybody's like, oh my god, what's happening?
Conqueror's hockey everywhere. What the heck is that?
Conqueror's hockey's still going strong, and Kaido is like, what the hell is up there? And then out of nowhere, you see a big arm just
he's like,
gets pulled back. It looks like basically Luffy in Gear 3rd, right? From the size of his arm.
If y'all remember when he fought Rob Lucci, when the first time he used the big ass fist that just broke the tower.
Yeah.
That's how it looked. But instead of looking like just a slow punch, no, this was a long arm, just grab, yoink.
And this is Kaido in dragon form. You realize how big that is, bro. Imagine how big is this arm? Just yoink. And then
get over here.
Out of all the people that were crying, Chopper was crying too, and he's seen that arm before. He's like, Luffy. So at this point, he's excited because he's alive.
He knows. Now he knows.
And it's funny, as Kaido's being dragged up and pulled up, his eyes pop out of his skull. In a very comedic fashion.
There's a very comedic fashion that we often don't see. I think the reason that happened is exactly what happens in the next panel, in the next page, is because Luffy grabbed him. His awakened ability transferred over to him. So now anything that Luffy is touching is now part of his power. It's affected by his abilities. So that's why his eyes yanked off in a comedic fashion, because Luffy grabbed him. So he's already being affected by Luffy's awakening.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. I really.
Because in the next panel, what happens?
So in the next panel, we get Luffy bringing him all the way up to the top, to the very top of the Onigashima, and he starts just twirling him around.
And this is another situation where you see his eyes popping out.
Like you do it like in a cartoon, and then he's like bang, 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 bang.
Freaking Loki. Freaking Loki Hulk fashion, bro.
And that's essentially what happening. And I had mentioned this to JT before. So who's ever watched Hercules as a baby in the Disney movie, he did exactly this when Hades sent his two minions after him, and they transformed them into snakes to go bite Hercules. Hercules got both of them, spin them around, and then we're hitting him on the floor. And that's exactly what that reminded me. As soon as I read that or saw that, I was like, that reminds me of Hercules. It looks so comedic. I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. I thought that was dope. And all while Luffy's doing this, he's basically like in this giant Popeyes form.
Like his muscles are super huge. Like we've seen his muscles stretched out with his third gear balloon, but we've never seen it also swole.
Buff. So think of Popeye when he goes like, when he eats the spinach, that's how he looks like. And as soon as he's finished banging Kaido on the floor, Kaido comes up with, and still in comedic fashion, with the little 3 bumps, and he's like, "Ugh."
You're like, what the hell, man? And he's like, oh, Straw Hat Luffy, I'm glad you're still alive, kid. Blast breath.
So this whole time he doesn't know that he's being hit by Luffy because he hasn't seen him. He's just been being toyed with. It's so crazy that this is the first villain to literally be happy to see Luffy. He's like, you're not dead. Thank the Lord. Thank Oda. The power of the pen. Thank Oda. You're still alive.
Now let's continue. Blast breath. Luffy, we've seen Luffy done some ridiculous faces, but like I brought up to Eric, I think is this not the first time? Like we've seen Luffy's eyes pop out, but not really pop out. They've stretched out. Usopp, Chopper, Luffy, their eyes in ridiculous moments have stretched out. But this, I think, I've never seen this. This is the first time his eyes actually have popped out.
And what we mean by popped out is you see circles, and then circles again. So
and
literally,
his face has nothing. It's kind of creepy.
It is really creepy, but and he made that face because he saw the blast breath, and he's like
blast breath, he's like, oh.
And basically he's like, he does his his ability for awakening. He grabs the ground, and he's like,
Lip. And what it does,
because it's bouncy now, it bounces back the blast breath. Yep.
He basically mirror forces the blast breath back onto Kaido. All you see is a boom, and Luffy's just laughing maniacally.
He's like, he's having the time of his life, and he's just like so in the moment.
I think some people might be weirded out or confused, like how your powers work when you eat a devil fruit. And like I always figured that once you eat your devil fruit, you just get a basic knowledge of what you can do. Like it's just like once you eat it, like it's there. Like you know, like, oh, now I got the power of this. Because how else would you explain that he knew that he could grab the floor and turn it into rubber and reflect it back? Another explanation for that is, if I'm recalling correctly, I think Katakuri did something similar to that, because Katakuri had such similar powers to him, which is why Katakuri's fight against him not only is probably one of the best, but one of the most important, because now that he's awakened his fruit, he fought Katakuri when Katakuri awakened his or used his awakening power. So it was similar to his. So I bet Luffy was like, that's pretty dope, my guy. I wish I could do that too. Now he can. So they said, I think I've got new powers. Let me try something that Katakuri did. Yeah, it worked. So after he reflected his blast, it hit Kaido. And the smoke clears up. Kaido gets up. He's like, well, kid, sorry about that other guy before. I didn't want to fight to finish that way. Round 3.
And at this point, when he says that, we see Luffy in full form, in his full everything detailed and outlined. That way you can actually see what he looks like.
And his new awakening.
Like he has his eyes covered and he's just laughing maniacally because he's having so much fun. And then he's like, don't sweat it, bro. Let's finish this. And then you see his eyes, like his eyes look crazy. I was like, bruh. So at this point, I'm like absolutely fangirling. And I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing ever. Like,
okay,
our whole lives have been a lie.
It's hard to explain how Luffy looks. He just looks cool. For me, he looks cool. What I brought up to Eric. So the reason that the last chapter looked like Luffy was melting is because he's made of rubber and now his hair's on fire.
So he literally
he was melting himself. Probably.
So from what it looks like drawn in the manga, it looks like his hair is on fire, and he has the typical smoke that he usually gets with Gear 4 around his body.
But now because it's awakening, it's like
affecting
his clothes.
Yeah.
So it now essentially has a form.
So it has a form to it. But it looks dope. People were
half and half
about it. People were cool about it. The other half is like, oh no, this is an ass pull. This is BS. Why is it so funny? Because at this point, Luffy has turned into a Looney Tune character.
That's what I told Derek when I first saw this, bro. This just reminds me of Looney Tune. The Popeye, his Hercules reference, and now the eyes popping out is essentially he's Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny, my friends.
He gained the power of slapstick comedy.
He did.
At this point, and I had tweeted this out. I was just like, yeah, if y'all are One Piece fans and y'all really hated how it wasn't serious, in your mind these fights weren't serious, yeah, go ahead and drop the series now, bro. You're gonna absolutely despise this. Like,
yep. So we complained, or we do complain about some anime series of what we don't like about it, and if we continue, that's our choice.
Yeah.
A big example is Attack on Titan. After the 3rd season in the manga, because I didn't really watch the anime, but after the 3rd season, essentially after that, I dropped it. I didn't like where it was going. I didn't like where the story was going, so I just dropped it. So there's plenty of other things to read, other things to entertain.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to get irked by something, if you do, then that's called masochism, my guys. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Or maybe you like that. Guys, if you're not liking this and you don't like how this ended up, it's probably gonna get worse from here for you.
Yeah.
So it's about time you just
jump ship exactly how I put it.
So the point of being that they mentioned is the most ridiculous power in the world. This is why. In other words, what else can you describe what he is doing and what he did? But that was the power of his awakening. It was affecting Kaido. So the serious character is now in a cartoon. I forgot to bring this up, but they do say that within that fruit is a power of a god. This doesn't make Luffy a god. He has the abilities that a god had. I think a lot of people would be like, well, now he has a power of a god. Not all gods are omnipotent, you know?
Yeah.
Like Beerus can be surpassed.
Yeah. Luffy can still die, and he will die.
Oh, and a point that Bet Boy asked, he did say like if there was a time limit, that there has to be a limit. If the power is this ridiculous, there have to be a limit. We don't know if there's a time limit, but he already said that I think I could go for a little longer. He didn't say like, oh man, I'm like rejuvenated, I'm like good as new. No, he said
I could go little longer.
Yep. And I don't think we've gotten a clear explanation of this, but when he uses Gear Second, when Rob Lucci saw him using Gear Second, Rob Lucci, knowing the 6 techniques, he knows the body, because that's all about using your body. So he knew, as Luffy was imitating his 6 techniques, he's all like, well, my guy, the way you're using your devil fruit power, it looks like you're shaving away your life every time you're using these abilities. And Luffy's like, I don't care, as long as I beat you. That's all that matters. So there's a lot of setbacks with Gear Second and Gear Third. And then we get what happened with in Impel Down with Magellan. He almost killed Luffy twice, and Ivankov had to bring him, and he says, this cuts your years. And I think that we got a physical, actual time stamp on that. I think he cut off 10 years of his life, reviving Luffy. Now, we don't know if Gear 4th is also shaving off his life, but I would assume it is, because it's essentially using basic techniques that he used with Gear 2nd and 3rd, and just pushing them to their limit and embedding Haki, but he's still modifying his body the way he was with Gear 2nd and 3rd. So I don't know if people have thought about that, but I think every time he's using these gears, he's shaving off years in his life. So I think that's the setback. You become powerful and you can use the power of a god, but it shaves off years of your life. The Gorosei said that they've been chasing this power for 800 years. So I'm pretty sure there's been other Gomu Gomu no Mi users.
Obviously, yeah.
They have been. That's why we know, or they knew that it was a Paramecio. They were able to say like, this is just a Paramecio fruit. It's a Gomu Gomu no Mi. This is what it does. Because there's people that's had that powers. Yeah. But no one has used it like Luffy. No one has used it to the extent of Luffy. So nobody has awakened it. So they didn't worry about it. Why didn't they? Tried to get the Gomu Gomu no Mi. But like they said, it's evaded them. So I think the Gomu Gomu no Mi has been going around trying out different users, and they're like, not this one, and then finally this ridiculous kid just eats it. His personality matches so closely to Nika the god, so closely,
or Joy Boy,
and he uses it in a way that is very, very similar, no, or very compatible to the fruit.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially, you're saying throughout the 800 years, there's been users, they just didn't have the creativity of Luffy,
or the personality, or the will.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
And if that's the case, then JT and I's prediction of Luffy dying at the end, it comes true, bro. Yeah. Sorry to say.
I think the way that One Piece should end is with Luffy dying. Yeah. At the end of this journey, Luffy dies, whether it's after he reaches the One Piece or years after.
Yeah.
But the story closes with his death.
Yeah.
I think that's the setback. He gets the power of a god. So for all of those that are calling BS, I guess maybe that can be in response.
Yes.
It's costing his life to use it. And if it doesn't, okay.
And that's how you respond to it. It's just, all right, cool. Because Oda's writing the story. You aren't. So
Okay, so the comment that you mentioned is similar to mine. I don't know if it was exactly the same as mine, so I'm just going to read off on my phone because it's kind of winded. One of the fans asked Oda why he gave Luffy rubber powers, and Oda answered that it is because it was the funniest power, explaining that no matter how serious the story in the manga was, the reader will be able to relax and observe with interested in what was happening. And it was on the SBS trivia, so
yeah,
it was a Q&A.
Yeah, and well, there you go. Oda's explained why he's doing what he does, as he always does.
He gave him the funniest powers, my guys,
that he could think of, and he's like,
he said this. Oh, I think it has a date. Hopefully, it has a date. No, the question was answered by Oda twice, first in Shonen Jump and then in SBS.
Yeah.
This was years ago though, but still, years ago he said he wanted to give Luffy the most funniest powers, my guys. What did you expect?
And with that, you guys, thank you for listening in on this video. We had some really, really good stuff in Jump this week. We're waiting for next week, and we will see you guys next time. Out.